So people who are watching in the recording, this on the whiteboard is the latest topic we discussed in the previous stream that is posted on my website. The recording of the previous stream is posted on my channel already. The topic that we ended on was how to work with addictions. Addictions seem to be one of the tightest cycles, one of the strongest vicious cycles that people go through. How to break free from the addiction when your entire body, when your entire mind, your entire life seems to be submitted to a certain habit, to certain behavior. So the concept that we discussed, hello Kiva, I'm just doing a review of what we were talking about in the end of the last stream before I erase everything. Some recap here. We were talking about how we go from the identity fused with addiction. Duck Bell News. Hi, I'm doing a recap of the latest stream. How to go from the identity fused with addiction to recognizing that every time you're engaging in an addictive behavior, you're actually making a choice. And I proposed an exercise for the person who asked me about it, how to do it. How to show to your mind that actually you are making a choice every time you're engaging in addictive behavior. And that is a totally different paradigm of living, because when you are in control, when you are making a choice, this is when you control this area of your life. This is when you can ultimately make a different choice. So that's the recap from the previous live stream, from the end of it. Working with addictions, how to detach your identity from addiction to recognizing you're always making a choice. Now I will erase this and we're going to briefly go through the topic of living easily. How is it to live at ease? Because a lot of times we build automations that make our life harder. I'm here, teacher, and chat. Hello, Great Tone. And then we'll move on. After we cover this proposed topic, I will invite you for an interactive work, because everyone has their questions, and it doesn't cease to amaze me how many variants of different commonplace topics there are when they come with certain personal human story. And also, hello, Chris, nice to see you. And also, how different psyches work, how different psyches respond, what becomes this little trigger, this gem that we need to discover. Hello everyone who is new. Are you crazy, Chris? It's subjectively perhaps, but I don't think so. Whoever is new today, we're doing a little bit of um, some like introductory work, and then we're having an interactive session with a Tantra coach. I'm Tantra coach, Tantra therapist, so you can ask me any questions that you think would be applicable for this occasion, and I will do Tantra coaching with you in real time. So, chat who are new, who are just joining, please hit like to this live stream, and I'll begin the first introductory portion. Today's topic is living easy, living hard. From hard life to easy life. Hardship we can view from two perspectives. Recently, someone asked me in the stream, what about some difficulties in relationships? Somebody asked me about my struggles and so on. And every time I tend to not perceive them necessarily as struggle. I tend to not perceive those things as necessarily hardship, Because as I've been living, as I've been experiencing my life, as I've been going through cycles of development, of acquiring more knowledge, acquiring more experience, expertise, different tools, how I can work with my life, with my mind, I came to realization that there are hard problems. And what is experienced as literal hardship, this permanent struggle, it usually lies in the realm of unsolved problems, unresolved problems. Give me, oh my god, Jim. Hardship can be hard tasks, or it can be settling. Two totally different, totally contrasting attitudes. I'm here for another session. Hello, Getter Done. Please think about your questions. Today, the first topic, you know how it goes. We go through some introductory topic that I propose, and then we're doing interactive work because that's a very fun, I think, creative process. So think about the questions. So when we think about hardship, difficulties in life, we can split them into two: hard tasks or settling. Settling being tolerating the discomfort, tolerating, coping, procrastinating. Hard tasks being problems to solve. And the difference between these two states, in most cases, of course, there are things that are outside of our control. Of course, there are things that may challenge us to, that may require us to remain in this domain. But if you analyze, in most cases, the difference between these two attitudes, or difference between these two experiences, is your attitude towards them. Are you the one who is willing to invest energy into settling on a daily basis? Or are you the one who is willing to invest energy to find the best solution for your problems? That's the difference. And when we come from this paradigm to this paradigm, this is when we find ease, because finding solutions for problem solving, when we actually accomplish that, this is where we find self-esteem, high quality of life, HQL, high quality of life, healthy relationships, wellness, and so on. So this is a very productive path. When we are living in the paradigm of settling, it's a cycle with no reward. It's a cyclical process of higher disappointment and lesser disappointment. When we live in hard tasks, but when we pursue solving of the problems, this is when we live in the paradigm of I identify the problem, I find the solution, and I get a reward. So I train my brain, this is what builds self-esteem, I train my brain to solve things, to find solutions. Whenever I find solution, this is when my brain learns that it's capable. This is when the brain learns that it can do things. And that generates the feeling of stable self-esteem. I can do it. I am capable. And when you solve problems, your quality of life inevitably improves. Relationships, healthy relationships are being built because you don't settle for problems in relationships, you solve them. Wellness also follows because instead of keeping this energy in the pressure cooker inside of you, You are actually releasing that energy to pursue the solution. Here, when you're settling for things, when you're building, so when you pretend that you build tolerance to things, this is when you are destroying your self-esteem. Because your body produces the energy to solve the problem, to address the problem, but you always show it that you're not going to act upon it, which diminishes the value of your effort. Your effort to cope is not what your body, what your mind demand from you. And that tanks your self-esteem. So this is a very dangerous path. And it's very important to acknowledge where you might be settling. If you're in relationships, it could be a really cool tool if you have nice, more or less good dialogue with your partner. You can converse with them. You can create a session in which you both will be talking about things that you don't like, and then sort them out, follow the session up with things that you want to replace the dysfunctional things with. So you can do something like this, or you can do it alone in a solo fashion. When you create this manifesto that I don't like this, I don't settle for this is gross, this is bad, this doesn't work for me, I want it differently. And then you think how I want it. And this brings you from this paradigm to this paradigm. This controlled, curated tantrum practice, not tantra practice, but tantrum practice, could be the thing that will throw you from this to this. But tantric tool here would be to come from settling to becoming a problem solver through this tantrum must inevitably include you taking an action. In Tantra, we are always acting. We're always bringing every practice, every energetic practice, every practice with energy release must be accomplished through action. So you must come to conclusion what is the first helpful action that will help me to solve the problems that are super bothersome for me. The issue that reading the chat. The issue is that the energy and urge switch paradigms only comes when settling has been set in and has started to do damage. But I agree. That's a good point, of course. Yes, that's a good point. And our goal is to switch it to basically lower your tolerance. Eventually, you lower your tolerance. And it starts with, yes, you identify right now, you're having some very strong dysfunction in your life, for example. Something where pain is found. That's what we're talking about in the two previous streams. There might be some system that shows you a lot of pain. Some system in your life is very uncomfortable. It gives you this priority pain, something where you're always experiencing a lot of distress, something that draws your aggression. Go there, start there. And that will be the starting point that may have ripple effect on all other areas of life. Watch my stream from Wednesday, so from 2 days ago, on that. But yes, we go into the system in which there is already pain, already discomfort, the manifestation of problems we're settling for. They are the strongest, they give us the strongest discomfort. And what happens when we remove that, when we sort that out, we lower the background tension. So on this lowered background tension, we start noticing, okay, this is wrong, that is wrong. Like I wasn't noticing that I was driving a very filthy car, for example, all this time. For example, you clean your entire place because you realize it pisses you off to live with mess. You throw away old stuff, you clean your entire place, maybe do some renovation. Then you go out and you start being sensitive that my car is filthy or the interior of my car requires some fixing. So you go refresh that. Then you're driving this fresh car. You have this fresh new home. Then what other things may be not working for you? For example, you have good emotions driving your vehicle, you have good emotions in your interior, but then some person comes into your life and you realize that with this person, after this person, I always feel down. You weren't noticing that when you lived in a messy home, driving messy car. You're not noticing that. But now that you've lowered your tolerance, You start seeing that now I feel this discomfort, that this person gives me this sense of exhaustion after I talk to them. So you start thinking, why is it so? And you start figuring it out. Now you realize that, for example, in certain circumstances with your partner, you also notice some problems. And so you start unfolding from the most painful issue that you have. And you move on to other things that happen next, that can come next naturally to solve these problems. Okay. Nobody got time. Is this pre-recorded? No, it's not pre-recorded. How do you stream pre-recorded video? Like a screencast or what? I don't know how it would even work mechanistically. More yapping. Sure. I feel it have a healthy relationship. Yes, I actually read the text. Good, Kiva, thank you. Why are you wondering? Nobody got time. I'm a Tantra coach, so you can ask me things that you might be interested in. What country are you in? Why are you interested in my geography? I'm in the United States, but I don't know how relevant is it? How is it relevant? So, now if we're sorting out the country, I guess the country of origin, just expecting a follow-up, is Russia. So what happens at each stage here? The miracle of actually solving problems is that you suddenly have an energy release. You suddenly feel a lot of internal freedom being unlocked through solving the problems. You free this resource. You also get the reward from problem solving. And through this practice of embracing the easy life, you are going to access, remember the concept of treasure that we had, you're going to access some treasures that will bring you to a exponentially more fulfilling and productive life. And an important thing here, why some people will not perform this thing. The trick here, how to do and backwards, like this. The hard thing here that goes on the way of journeying from this paradigm to this paradigm can be identity. There can be a paradox in which you fail to believe that this is possible. And when we're dealing in this paradigm, there is likely a belief system that will hold you inside of this behavioral style. So belief system will be the resistance that will be perpetuating you settling for problems. So what's important to do here, if you want to change your life for better, it's very important to acknowledge where you do have belief system, where you have parasitic identities that keep you in this mindset. Indeed, we cannot claim that you always have the best solution at hand. But for, again, many life scenarios, it is what happens. I just don't believe that my problem can be solved. I just, for example, I cling on to some point of view, to some belief, to some trauma that I want to keep for some reason in order to stay settling. It becomes my priority, it becomes my default state. So how work with, for example, Tantra therapist can help here is that you will start being aware, cognizant of the belief systems and identities that hold you in this box. Well, let me open the window, it's very hot. Okay, so wonder if the real cat. I treasure this time together. I think you're pretty smart and just be flexing on us. No, I don't. I perform my live streams because I love people to live well, and if I can contribute to people living well, I mean, to me, it's just not even like a willpower effort or anything. I just like to help people live well. So this is my platform in which people voluntarily come to me with the request of how they could live well. And it's my job to help them find a solution, some creative path. So it's not flexing, it is the act of help. But if it sounds complex, it's because I'm a scientist, I'm a professional scientist, and I like nuance. I like nuance, I like to go in details. There are things that, unfortunately, in the society are being oversimplified. And I think oversimplification is the source of confusion, the source of very linear primitive thinking, and thus leads to inability to find solutions. This is why what I'm saying at times may sound sophisticated, because there are indeed many layers to problems. There are indeed many details. There are indeed many conditions, many points of view, many approaches. And I don't want to scare you off by that. But at the same time, it's something necessary in this work because we cannot generalize, we cannot oversimplify. Sorry, we need to make sure that we retain accuracy of delivery. So I hope that doesn't scare you off, and if you stick around, nobody got time. You will notice how it starts all making sense. I don't want you to be scared or uncomfortable. Just try listening, and you might get accustomed to my style, and you might get why I'm saying things that I'm saying, and what my methodology is. How do you get out of said box? Out of this one, I would encourage you to look at the biggest source of discomfort right now in your life. For example, I know Dan Robertson. Are you married? Do you have relationships? Do you have a job? Where would you think in your life you may identify some discomfort? Perhaps it's something physical as well. Maybe something in your body is showing you signs of some discomfort, dysfunction. So let's start with that. We need to identify the biggest source of discomfort, and then we can start working on that. Sometimes I feel I get angry at my significant other for no reason. Don't know why. Get her done. Let's take a note of this issue. Let's talk about it because I have a theory of how it works. I live stream for same sort of reason. Hello 95SR. I totally butchered your handle name on that live stream where I was expanding on your issue. So, I thought you were 25S or S25, something like that. But I hope you understood that I meant you. Hey, no kissing. My live stream, my rules. So, Dan Robertson, are you still here? Let me know what area of life would you identify the biggest problem in right now, the biggest source of discomfort. Maybe you can't sleep, maybe you have insomnia, for example. We can start with that, like an obnoxious insomnia is that you are getting accustomed to. Because when we're settling on a daily basis, the danger is what? Remember, I was drawing this cycle. The danger is that, as I love to say, and I repeat this phrase in every live stream probably, is what we exercise develops. So if there is some issue that you keep in your life, you should understand that every day you exercise that issue. You exercise the habit of living with this issue. And at the same time, since we have limited amount of time, limited amount of resource that we're given per day, we at the same time cannot exercise simultaneously something else. So we need to make a conscious decision to exercise one mode of operation or the other mode of operation. But when something is a habit, automation, something must break it. And as someone pointed out earlier, that's when people start paying attention to that they're settling. When they get too scared of settling, it becomes too hurtful to settle. This is when they realize that something needs to be switched. And today we're discussing the methodology of how to unsettle in as many areas of life as possible. I love that stream. I watched it today, took notes. I need to change my handle. My name is Alexander. Nice to meet you, Alexander. Thank you for introducing yourself. How can I use your voiceovers on my videos? I don't know. I'm not really like tech savvy, so just check some other blogs. I don't know. I can't give you advice here. What do you want to do voiceover with? I don't know. Dan Robertson, are we still here, or can we move on with somebody else's questions? Get her done. Most of it, and I hate to say, she always talks about politics, and I tell her I'm not interested anymore. But the next day, the same thing. Here you see what happens is it actually became relevant for our topic. You two are building a habit right now. She has a habit, she's running in this circle of talking about politics, talking politics, your responses, then something happens. So something happens here that triggers your response. She talks politics. Something happens that triggers your response. Your response triggers something, something happens. That makes her talk about politics the next day. So there are some mystery processes happening here in the middle that you both trigger that keep this habit building. So you're both settling for having this issue. What we need to find is what is the function of these interstitial processes in your life. What triggers her to introduce this politic talk? What triggers you to respond the way you respond? And how that triggers her again. So these mysterious things are what shapes the habit. And there are several ways out of it. We can either, there are several ways to approach it. For example, for her, talking politics is the indirect way to experience some experience. She wants some experience, she doesn't know how to get it directly. So she brings this politic talk from you, already knowing that you have this responsivity to it. She knows that you will respond. She wants to fulfill something. She knows that you will respond. So instead of getting that in an open conversation directly, she opts for the thing that works, talking politics, to get that treasure from you, something that she needs. Your response at the same time is always reinforcing this behavior. So you yourself are getting something out of this communication. You're feeding this system with this treasure that makes her talk politics again. So there is some recurring need, some void. Let's say this is her, there is some void that she's not aware of, but talking politics temporarily soothes this void. So we need to think in this cycle, remember how yesterday we were discussing the exiting the conflict or exiting the cyclical patterns in relationships. In that moment, when she talks politics before you respond, or in the moment when you respond, because you respond on the peak of emotion, you're probably like, God, I absolutely hate this. What do you feel inside in that moment? Why do you choose to end up in this system? What communication needs, perhaps, need to be fulfilled? What was when did this start? What is the evolution of the cycle when this cycle appeared? What is your mutual mental state? What feelings do you feel before the cycle commences? What feelings do you feel after the cycle commences? You said that you feel anger. You feel like anger rushing in you when this happens. You have anger attacks. What is that aggression telling you? What do you want to defend? Where are your boundaries being pushed? Why does she want to knock on your doors? Why does she want to shake your system up every time? What is that? What is her goal, in your opinion? But since you cannot work with her directly because it's point of vulnerability, it's very reasonable to start identifying how you participate in this system. Because your reaction is the goal. It temporarily soothes her. It gives her that replacement treasure. What do you experience? What do you give? And why? Angry, she's talking about again, same thing, but said in a different way, if that's understandable, yes. I have another YouTube and TikTok channel. This is my work one. Sure. I hate when my date is super into politics. What's the topic of the stream exactly? I'm keeping up with the current conversation, but don't see how it ties to the topic. Ties to the topic is how from hard life to go to easy life through identifying the source of hardship that you have. Because easy life is found when you have hard tasks that you can solve. Problem-solving mentality. Hard, like truly hard life, is when you're settling for some dysfunction in your life, spending a ton of energy, clinging on some belief system, identity, and whatnot. So we're talking about how to swap this. And the person brought up the issue of the cyclical behavior with the partner, effectively settling for some habit, negative habit, dysfunctional habit, talking politics, responding. And that seems to alleviate things. By the way, Luisa had some note for you and I forgot. Either I already discussed it or... Luis, you were asking about how to find your path. We can discuss it today. So stick around. So get her done. Let's survey a little bit. What happens in those moments? What in general, what's the background in your relationships that effectively you allow this? This is you, this is your partner, or vice versa. This is your partner, this is you, and then there is this thing that is talk about politics and you saying that you are not interested. Why, in place of intimacy, why, in place of connection, the garden, beautiful garden of your relationships, why do you have politics? What does it do there? Why do you have space for it? Where are you not close enough? Or not having the space of relationships developed and nurtured enough that there is space for this political discourse. She's very helpful if you have patience. She doesn't have 30-second answers. Anthony, thank you. Do you have children? No, but I raised my brother when he was little, when I was a teenager. So I've got experience. And this habit of bringing up this politics, does it seem like, another question here for bringing clarity, does it seem like you both would want bigger distance between you? Does it seem like it's beneficial for you to stay at a distance to gain some, like, I don't know, moments of peace perhaps and distance between? So what does it do to your relationships? What is the effect there? Oh, Luis, thank you so much. I see I have pretty bad social anxiety. It doesn't show when I'm in a set environment with set objective, like in a business meeting. It rather shows when there is ambiguity to the interaction. Okay, sounds good. Thank you for your contribution. Do you want to talk about it? How would you envision yourself behaving instead? Because, yeah, it is clear when you know what's going to happen, when it's in the field of your control, when you can be laser focused, control things. It's understandable that you feel comfortable. So I have been starting to feel comfortable with being a mute in my day-to-day, but it's leaving me pretty lonesome. So what is your desired state then instead? How would you want to feel instead? Like what is your projected, like, desirable behavior? How would you want to feel? Give some situation. Is there some situation, like some example situation that will illustrate that? For example, you go to social, what social settings are there? Because I imagine with friends you probably would feel as comfortable. My ideal is to be able to make connections with others and of more emphasis to find a romantic relationship. It's hindered by that inability to handle ambiguity in social interactions. What do you mean by ambiguity of social interactions? Let's pretend, okay, you go on a date. If you want, Luis, I can pull up my laptop and you can send me an email real quick, and I will be able to read the email if you want to give me the whole case study. So if that's something that you want to do, I can accommodate. Ambiguity in social interactions. It's interesting they're bringing it up because people generally behave quite predictably. So that ambiguity must have very specific reason. Can you type your email? This info at raw form of life. Wait. So my raw form of life.com was just info rawformoflife.com. So the name of my channel.com. But first is info. Okay, just a sec. Okay, yeah. In general, guys, yeah, you can also do that. Info or form of life. I erased it, but you can send me emails and I'll bring my laptop. It will work like that. Maybe he means like shy or distant. Shy or distant, but what's ambiguous about people? That they're shy, that they're behaving like, there must be a very specific definition of that. Because again, people are largely, I mean, we're all bound by certain social codes, by some etiquette. So people in general build this more or less predictable environment. So I'm going to be hunting for specific keywords for Louise. Most people bring hard life back. Luck on their own self. That's fair. Yeah. And there are certain traps. Again, I said there's some belief systems that can encompass trauma, which also creates belief systems. For example, I have childhood trauma, so I'm going to go nuts now because I have childhood trauma type of thing. When they weaponize trauma against themselves, that behavior, trauma can shape belief systems. Then, largely it will be that. Building identities, and those things will bring beliefs. Plus also adaptations. There is weaponized victimhood, for example, weaponized trauma. Weaponized being both against themselves, it primarily sabotages people from living well, but it also affects others around them. And that is the phenomenon that perpetuates that. Remember that system that steals people's treasures. Remember how we're drawing that. There are systems that are preying on people's treasures, people's energy, vitality, and the existence of these systems. The system wants to be as inert as possible to protect itself, to remain. And every participant of this system, they think that they're getting something. They even don't know what they're getting, but they feel, without any awareness, they feel very connected to this system. Because they think that they're so close to getting that treasure from that system, but somebody else's. They lose track of their own treasure that they're donating to the system, though. And that's how the system, whose only goal is to retain itself, keeps people trapped like that. I may get the charger for the laptop. Thanks. Thank you. Oops, not gonna work like that. So of course there are some systemic reasons, but we can work on those things from starting to introduce some small changes. I said in the beginning, when you identify the most painful system using the tools that were discussed in the previous streams, you start identifying the most painful system, and through taking care of that most painful system, and 95SR, this is your story. Through that painful system, you extract the most potentiated, the most energy loaded facet of your personality that is necessary for you to start working on with your treasure, to start recognizing what you were lacking for achieving other goals, for living well in other areas of life. So on the one hand, yes, there is some trauma at the foundation of that keeps people settling and going in those cycles. At the same time, through working with certain simple tools, you can withdraw yourself from the systems that are drinking from your trauma, from the energy from your trauma. Respect for the deep system knowledge. Genuine question though. When did you last sit down, actually read the... We're going... In childhood. I'm my own biggest problem. What about you is your own biggest problem. If you want to start solving, I mean, I'm myself. A lot of things are you. A lot of things are defining you. A lot of things are parts of your life. So what in you If it's not just a joke, there's like this coquetry thing, like, I am my biggest problem. If it's not that, then what is that problem exactly? I'm going to pull up my email and please sync. On a laptop, sometimes the email forgets how to sync. Okay. Challenge accepted. I think I've got some trauma from babyhood, and it's kind of made me issues an adult. I think I mentioned it before. So sorry if I'm taking too much time. No, you don't. I stayed in the system because I wanted to fall back, and I'm not so sure I will be able to perform in my new career. I finished school this week, and I have a way out, applying at other places. That's really nice. Yeah, that's actually, yeah, regarding, remember we also worked with Electric Aura, one of the recent streams, that we're thinking like, what is that? Why do you want to keep a certain friendship? Some people will be self-conscious that, okay, I'm just destroying my friend cycle, for example. So you want to be anchored in that system. You want to remain there. Or with parents, for example. You think you have an illusion that your parents were your only savior, even if there was a lot of dysfunction. So from childhood you learn, for example, mom can be telling, nobody cares about you besides me in this life. You learn this lesson that nobody cares about me in this life. But my mom, for example, is cruel. So you grow up with the conflict that the system that's cruel at the same time is essential because nobody else cares about me in this life. This mantra keeps perpetuating in your head. And you then are scared to leave toxic systems because you think that the only thing that will care about me if some hardship happens, if I endure, then it will care about me. In reality, it's hardly possible that it will care about you. Oftentimes, it's a myth. I also worry because I can't clear my mind. My brain scatters. I have final exams and I can't focus. I only think about this or that. And what is this or that? Abusive upbringing is the main thing. Abusive upbringing only builds adaptations. Let's remove the catastrophic load from that and regard it as adaptations. Abusive upbringing made you adapt to something that has no relevance to you right now. That's why it feels like dysfunctional thing. So we need to find what is functional thing. David, hello? Yeah, I think I kept wanting my mom to save me and be there for me, and eventually I realized I was alone. Now I'm so messed up. I really cling to, okay, safe, which I know is weird as hell. Now that's, yeah, it's like a buoy in the sea. It's understandable. There's some image that you associate with. It's an interesting that you have a specific attachment to a very specific object. But we even can we can work in two scenarios. We can either embrace the specificity, or we can go see what's behind that. Because symbology in objects oftentimes tells us a lot. Hippocrates, imagine living in a fantasy world and you keep thinking that cavalry are coming over the hill to save you. That, yeah, it's an imaginary thing, of course, actually. With like parents who are going to save you, it's always an act of imagination because we tend to, first of all, in those systems, your parent expected something out of you. So your parent never saw you as who you are. And you grow up not seeing your parent who they are. You mutually don't recognize what system you're dealing with. That's what we were talking about yesterday and the day before. When you look at certain repetitive scenarios, then this indicates we need to first identify that they are indeed repetitive. We need to observe that there is repetition. This is the first thing that we need to do. When you go through events and you notice that you worry for no reason, that you engaged in the conflict for no reason, that you had expectations from a person that were not met, when you were let down, you probably should realize that it's your situation that you allow yourself to be let down in that case. If it is a systemic thing, and that is not going to change. This acknowledgement of repetition gives you clarity that you're dealing with something of totally different nature than it existed in your imagination. That your mom is not the mom that you want, and she will never be the person that you want, and you will never be the person for her that she wants. You will always be seeing each other through this fantasy lens. And it's a very important thing to acknowledge that your mom is judged by actions, basically, judged by the pattern, judged by the behaviors, not by your fantasy, not by idealized fantasy. That's a very important move. See where you are living in the fantasy world. I think he was making a bad joke, but he told him that he needed to hear. Politics. I'm addicted to politics, war, things that are happening. I consume it all, podcasts, videos. I stay up all night ingesting these things. When you stay up all night, we need to understand that this is an act of self-harm. What do you do? What do you do for yourself? Why do you want to harm yourself? Why do you want to torture yourself? By staying up, by being tired, perpetually tired. Why do you want to be perpetually tired? Is an act of punishment, or are you creating an alibi for yourself? Then another thing is, are you aware of your value? Because we can think about it from the perspective that you don't allow yourself to engage with something of your value. You regard it as not valuable, shameful. That's why you opt for something that gives you, that kind of diminishes your quality of life, diminishes your ability to perform, to match that lack of appreciation for what you would value, if that makes sense. So you bring yourself to tiredness because you cannot claim your path. You don't allow your path to unfold. You don't allow yourself to execute on something that matters to you. And hence, you feel like you can afford making yourself less optimally functioning. If I don't know why I would want to feel well, if I don't know why I would invest my time towards something, if I don't know why I would harvest as much energy as possible, if I don't know why I would take good care for myself, then I won't. But this why is found in your deep value system. So what are your relationships with something that is very important to you? Something that you love, like something that you even don't have any concept about, ideally, something that's natural to you. It doesn't help that it's so hard to talk about. I have so much toxic shame regarding that object, and it's made dating weird, and yeah, it's kind of ruined my life, honestly. If I feel bad even bringing it up, sorry everyone, it's weird, I know. It's okay. Paxton Beef, it's fine. It's just an object. It's just a symbol. It's literally something, people, it's no different. It's no different from you, for example, Project Invent Tech. I read your that thing in um I'm gonna block you for unwanted commercial content or spam because it's just tiring. So the fact that this object is hygiene object doesn't make it filthy, doesn't make it particularly shameful if we remove any concept about it, okay? So don't worry about that. It's just a symbol of something. It's just an object. Every human in some stage of their life was interacting with that object. So I want you to first relax about it. It's just a hygiene object. I understand you may feel weird about the fact that you have particular obsession with this object. But people have particular obsession with gaming. People have particular obsession with watching TV series. People have obsession with celebrities. In essence, it's no different. The point of focus can tell us something about the nature of your behavior, of your trauma. It's very important to actually be on top of it. But it does not change the mechanics of it. There is stigma, of course. There is a stigma about it because everything that involves human biology, human hygiene, all of these things, indeed, they are associated with shame. That is something that brings people to detox practices, that shame about this hygiene. That you can eat, for example, you can go to Michelin star restaurant, you can eat like 15 course absolutely luxurious dinner with delicacies, with very intricately crafted dishes, but the next day all of that dinner escapes you from your rear end just like from any animal on planet Earth. So this is the conflict that humans can develop. So I would like to relax you on the matter that there is specific shame about an object and what it constitutes. It's a part of human life, it's a part of human hygiene, and everyone has and uses hygienic objects. Everybody experiences the need for hygiene, the reason to need the hygienic objects. So I would want you to relax about that and don't have any further concept about this object that you are drawn to other than just some like curious observation. Let's first integrate all parts of our existence, okay? That yes, there is the life of the body. Yes, there is a life, there is some refinement in human society. We want to use hygienic objects because we want to feel clean, we want to interact, and we want to build a pleasant environment. So there's nothing more to it. Paxton Beef, I want us to be on the same page right now, that this is just an object. Let's remove any concept surrounding it. It could be this hygienic object. It could be any other hygienic object. It could be any object at all. It could be gaming. It could be some item of food. It could be, I don't know, lollipops. It can be obsession with ice cream. It can be obsession with a celebrity. All of these things, they give comfort. But for some reason, you see, the object that you are drawn to has extra pressure on it because it's something biological, something that's related to this like filthy human side. But other objects are like, well, it's okay. Everybody will be like, ha ha ha, look at this. This person loves ice cream so much. They eat ice cream every day in some crazy amounts. I received email from Louise, by the way. Paxton Beef. Let's sit with this idea. I want to read the email real quick. Luis, do you authorize me to read it, by the way? Or do you want me to just respond to it? And everyone, if you have some long form requests, feel free to email them to me. Luis, I have an answer for you already. How for you to experience it, though? This is what the imagery that I want to propose. That will be a creative task. But I have the methodology, the idea. Is chat alive? So, Luis. Where is it? Where is everything? All messages. Oh! The chat was not updating for me. That's crazy. Okay. Why? I deleted that MLM distributor and everything froze. Okay. Doesn't help that it's hard to talk about. Feel bad when bringing it up. Okay. My current work system invades my mind because there's a ton of conflict and abuse. But I'm studying your movie making technique, and I really already feel better about that. Hippocrates, thank you. I picture my boss as a boiled sausage, and it's working because he looks like a boiled sausage. I would even propose that you go you just start practicing the movie, bring it up to some crazy scenario. Good talk, conscious dating, thank you. Sure, it's a sausage. Hello, Chad. Holy freak, nice to block someone. Yes. Like he just repeats the same message over and over. I'm sorry, I feel like I made your day weird or grosser by even being here. I swear I'm a nice, normal person otherwise. Thank you for being so kind and helpful. Paxton Beeve, I mean, you heard what I said about it. I don't have a concept about it. Your shame right now, the fact that you're feeling shame, the fact that you are experiencing it and want to share, the fact that you're so hyper aware of your shame, is another puzzle to this issue, actually. Because shame is largely a motor of that. You seek shame, you feel shame from that appeal, and then you feel shame talking about it, but you feel like talking about it too. So shame is almost something, shame and guilt is almost something that is the foundation of the process that are happening with you. So that's why I want to emphasize neutralization of that. That your addiction, and that's actually track your feelings right now. If you accept that your addiction is normal, for example, if I tell you that 15% of adults have addiction to the same thing, is there something that perhaps feels uncomfortable, unsettling with that? If suddenly your addiction becomes not special? What if your addiction became not something unique and conventionally weird? What if we lower the heat, the perceived heat around this topic, the perceived weirdness? Because you can be unique in a way that, oh, this is such a unique artist, this is a genius of thought, this is a genius of expressiveness, this is a unique actor. something very honorable, but they're unique, but honorable. When we think about certain socially unacceptable, like quote unquote unacceptable things, they're still unique. So there is an element of that being like, wow, that's so exotic. So it makes people stand out. Is there anything in you that would resist normality? Something in you that would agree with you just being a like normal average person? Or would you want to feel unique in something as well? Because there's shame, guilt, very burning sensations, very burning sensations. But at the same time, uniqueness of it, weirdness of it, exoticism of it. These facets I would also analyze. We're all weird sometimes, even me of all people. Okay, sent email. Lisa, I just read it. Yes, please read it, it's fine. Okay, thank you. You can read it out loud. Good. So, let's read it. There is a pattern. I function well in structured environments. If there is an agenda, a clear purpose, or a defined role in interaction, I'm present and engaged. But the moment the situation becomes ambiguous, such as a casual small talk, an unscripted social moment, a conversation with no obvious direction, I go almost completely mute. Something shuts down, and I don't know what it is or why it happens. Often I find myself freezing in response to an invitation for social interaction, which leaves me in the awkward situation of appearing to ignore others entirely. Sounds so familiar. So relatable. I suspect that this is settling in disguise. My nervous system chooses silence because silence feels safer than whatever it's afraid of. But I've never been able to name what that fear actually is. And that silence, repeated over years, has made navigating the social world feel harder than it probably needs to be. I have a sense that it connects to negative experiences I've had with others. And although I'm able to overcome the anxiety in most situations, my subconscious preference in optional social scenarios is solitude, as a way of protecting myself. It's a pattern I can see, but can't explain. When someone consistently retreats from ambiguous social situations, not out of preference but out of an involuntary freeze, what is the body actually protecting itself from? And how do you begin to work with that without forcing your way through it? So, let's work on that. Is everyone ready? Let's work on this issue a little bit. So I will not be interacting with the chat, but I will read your stuff, your comments and questions later. So, Louise, we need to effectively find an antidote for you. An antidote state in which you become not vulnerable in the face of social interactions. I will be brainstorming with you, and I want you to go here with me. I want to navigate with me. I think we're all set here. Get her done. Get her done in your news. Think about this one, why there is space between you and your partner to bring up these news things, okay? I'm going to erase. But I want you to think what this space actually could be filled with. Why is there space for this issue? What are you both trying to get from that? What are you hunting for? So I'm erasing it. Get it. Okay. So we have Louise. Let's start drawing. And we have two scenarios for Louise. Кузя, ты чё? One scenario is predictable, which how will we depict the predictable situation? Predictable situation, let's depict it as a box. How we like to talk about controllable environment. Controllable environment in this box feel really good. Brain works, everything is fine. Then, when we are outside of that box, there's a controllable box where we feel really good. And then when we zoom out and we go into a bigger system, then it becomes intimidating. In controllable box, what happens? A controllable box makes you feel big. You can feel this controllable box. You feel the support of controllable box. If I immerse in your situation, for example, business meeting, it feels like I'm owning it. I feel like because of this linearity of interaction, because of my sense of control, I feel like I'm fully present in it. All my stuff is aligned. I feel fully embodied in that moment. I feel in control. I feel big. So this is the metaphor for being in a controllable box. Then when we escape the controllable box, the world suddenly becomes big. There are many focal points that irritate us. And when our brain is accustomed to operating in the box, it tries to put everything in the box, but all of these things are constantly moving. It's like Brownian motion bucket. All of this is constantly moving, all of this is bouncing of us, or throwing some stuff around at us. So we enter in this Brownian motion thing, and because we have a habit of being in this box, because we depend on this box psychologically, we try to box these things, but when we try to box them, they're not boxable. It's like we're chasing many moving targets all of a sudden. Please, say something. Creative prose on my end, so so far so good, good. So because I'm accustomed to this box of control where I feel big, I know my environment, can envision it as a room, for example, comfortable room, with the walls, with window, with scenery. Everyone, I can electively invite people into my room. I can close the door. I want you to even maybe close your eyes if you want and try to imagine that this is the room. I have a key. I control how the door opens and closes, who I let in the room, who I don't let in the room. Everyone was seated. Everyone has their space. I can present in front of them. I will be heard. And now the room shatters. There is a ton of people, like the walls just fall. Boom. There's like flashes of light. People are walking around. Everybody is, I don't know, dancing, running. They're like flashing light, flashing sounds, very like noise of the crowd. We're doing actually walk through the psyche right now. So you can do this alongside with me. So the sounds, people are moving, some children running, some child runs from behind you and like ha 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 ha, drags your shirt down, laughs at you, and then picks their nose and runs away. Then shows to their friend like ha ha ha, points at you. Then there are some girls who are just dancing, dancing, dancing. Then somebody's, I don't know, spills their drink on you, and you are in this havoc, like whatever this havoc, whatever, like maximize it. Let's maximize the most uncomfortable, the most paralyzing scenario you can imagine in your mind. So imagine that scene with that Brownian motion of many stimuli. Let's maximize it. Okay, Luis, if you can immerse yourself, if you can snap back and forth the chat, will be excellent. So we're back to this like crazy party with kids, with people, women, splashes, sound, light, everything just like bouncing at each other, and you feel like in this bubble because you're just paralyzed. Your nervous system cannot keep up with that. Whatever state you entered, like you just were in this comfortable room. Let's do another transition here. From this chaos, let's now return to the room. Build the room around you. Have a couple of breaths. Relax in that room. Now let's walk out of that room back into that chaos, and that mess, in that noise. Some guy like comes to you, hey dude, like what's up? And you're and you like suddenly are encountered. You were just in that room, but suddenly there is some like small talk spark. Relief in the room. Okay. Though with apprehension of what lies outside of the room. Does it give you tension to be aware that what lies outside of the room? Or are you both appealed and tense by that thing? Would you want to, what would you want to, um, you know that it just doesn't, would you want that to not exist, basically? That chaotic life there. Would you want it to not exist, or is there an element that appeals you? Like, is it pleasant for you to know that it exists outside of the room? Or is it just like, I would prefer it to not exist? I would want to engage what is outside the room, but I'm paralyzed by the chaos. So the infinite modes of action strike me in my place. Okay, so you would want it to exist. So it's something attractive. Now, what changes in you when you leave the room? So the room is just the walls, effectively, right? So the room are just the walls. If we now focus on the moment of transition. When you are in the room, Breathe, like feel your body fully, like you're in the room, feel your body. Feel your like metaphysical size, feel your projection, feel your like ownership of space and stuff. And now let's remove the walls of the room. Now that we're familiar, we can do it quickly. Remove the walls of the room. You're now in that state now, in that crowd that's very noisy and loud. Can you bring the state from the room with the same metaphysical size, with the same feeling of yourself to that chaotic environment? Can you walk into it? I feel small and out of control. Okay, but yeah, now let's do the thing. You're in the room, maximize, like fully focus, embody what you feel, and now quickly remove the walls, and you're in that environment, keeping that same projection. Let's go back then. We'll keep doing this exercise now, Louise. You're going back whenever you feel lack of control. Let's go back to the room, embody that state. Now, momentarily, in that state, when you embodied it, remove the walls and throw yourself in this social interaction. Let's go back and forth a few times. Let's keep doing this. So what I suggest to you to do right now is that you go back to the room, you embody yourself again. And now you go back to that environment and sit there for 1 second or something, feeling fully embodied there. Fully embodied, moreover visible, moreover comfortable. Now, the moment the discomfort commences again, go back to the room. And go back and forth like that. You go to the room to bring resource up, and then exit the room momentarily. Let do, the switch from space to space. Keep doing this, Luis. This is our exercise right now. Our goal right now is to learn how to get into the state of the room and go back and forth between the states. I am big and in control, I am small, and I am disturbed. So we're doing actual practice right now. Your brain is learning this pattern. We need to increase the speed of switching such that you can know how to switch quickly when you find an uncomfortable state. So let's exercise it like 5 more times. You can also make, by the way, for this exercise, you can make the room as beautiful as possible, such that it resources you the most. Make yourself, for example, in that room, make it like decorated the way you want, lighting scenario, how you look, also work on yourself in that room. What's necessary for you to build that resource to the maximum, like the most leisurely, the most sybarite kind of yourself and full indulgence in that room. Let's do something like that. You know it all. You know how to, you own your charisma. You're so, I know, handsome. You're so projecting, so charismatic. Let's bring it all now in the room. Let's improve even the quality there. The most enjoyable. I don't know, your room can turn into like whole having, I don't know, jungle, waterfalls, plants, beauty like to the max. Let's beautify your room. Now stand in that environment with your full, like, luxurious enjoyment of that space. Like to where you have butterflies somewhere. To that degree, let's boost it up. And now when you brought it to this mega excitement, now go to that crowd again. Just transform the space to that crowd again. Now go back to the most luxurious room, the most luxurious state that you have. Own that space, own that place. I don't know, maybe imagine like how you are, drinking something there. Just a glass of water to like incorporate the space, play with the space more interactively. Your most beautiful, luxurious space where you are in your best state. Walk around that beautiful room. And now go back to that society in that state. How are people looking at you now? Like I'm submitting to the environment, my position, and if that makes sense. Okay? Do you feel that this room that you created, that state that you experienced there, are you on top of the world in that state? Is it the most pleasurable environment that you built, or would you want to improve something, to maximize something in it? It's metaphysical space. It doesn't need to obey, it doesn't need to be a room. It can be any environment that gives you some enclosure, that gives you your metaphysical extension. So that space is your metaphysical extension. So it can be anything. And we keep walking. We maximize that room. And then we step out again. And we gradually start bringing the energy of our metaphysical space and the energy in the crowd into one. Perhaps you will feel like you don't need to shatter that room, you can just blend it with that environment. So it just becomes like a corridor from that environment to the social environment. You're just walking back and forth easily. That's how it may feel. In that state, I'm relaxed when in the room, not the position of power, but the position of mastery of the environment. There's no need to be anxious. I hold mastery over it, even if I don't control it. Okay. How did the space morph for you? Like, is it easier to go in and out? What was the metamorphosis there? It was easier to make the transition between the room and the out with periodic retreats. Do you want to continue, Louise? My goal right now is to, on the one hand, not overwhelm you with this visualization. At the same time, I want you to fully embody, fully feel this. On the one hand, first switching and then evolution to merging of the two. So where are you at? Do you want to continue this experiment, or would you want to, are you satisfied? If you're satisfied, it's good to leave on the most ecstatic, on the most elevated state that you can bring into that social setting. And then we just leave this practice on that for now. I'm satisfied. I want to practice this more. That's now you can do it on your own, in your own tempo. The experiment. Let me know if you fully understood what we're doing. I mean, if you're satisfied, if you found this thing, I think you fully understood the task. But this is your experiment. Basically, the method, if you observed it, is to, on the one hand, blend, be able to carry your room persona. That's what we're started with. We carried our room persona into the social uncomfortable environment. This goes here with that metaphysical extension. But then the next goal was to improve, reinforce, make stronger, more pleasurable baseline that in control persona. Make sure that your environment here is the most fabulous environment, the most fabulous feeling of yourself, that you can access that and make it merge, bring it to the energy, bring it to the sum of all the chaos that you have to endure sometimes. Instead of endurance, you bring your energy so high up through pleasure that now you can carry that pleasure and be beyond/in the sum of all those energies. You become your pulse, your strength, your pleasure, strength of your pleasure, strength of your ability to enjoy, to build enjoyable environment, becomes on par with the energies that you feel bouncing off you. I see connections, but I want to think and feel through it more. Would it be helpful to visualize the out as the real life environments I encounter? Should I abstract that out to generalize? Whatever your psyche generates is the best. Whatever was the first impulse is the best right now. Because your psyche will always pull up something that how it perceives things. So in this visualization, let your psyche drive you to some places. Whatever comes. I kind of pushed some social scenario onto you, but it probably diffused in your brain to something that is native to your psyche. So the first impulse was the abstraction. Okay, so work with the abstraction first. Work with the abstraction and then do this exercise. When you feel comfortable and bored with the abstraction, when you find I got it, when neuron connection is built, then you can start experimenting if you want to. And you can start this state, you will sleep, your brain will memorize it. Now you know how to switch. You know what to do. Now your brain has a clarity. In this environment, you know what to do. I don't even want to have the drawings on the board anymore because I don't want to bring you to some object going on. So we're removing, let's just pretend that there's something drawn. When you're going to the real life environment, the real life environment will be a trigger that you can use as a switch now. Switch. That's why this was the purpose of making the room as gorgeous, as indulgent as possible, because you are going to switch easily to something that gives you the most pleasure, something that gives you the most fulfillment, something that is so easy to grasp. That's why I wanted you to generate that very stimulating, pleasurably stimulating environment. That was the goal. So what I would focus on, even in the next meditations like that, visualizations, is also building the most indulgent, the most gorgeous room that is beyond comfort. Comfort is very comfort, like a comfort with low energy state is a very limiting thing. Why settle for it? Let's make your room, your metaphysical room, just fucking fabulous, such that brings you from comfort here to comfort here. Okay, that's the idea. So focus not only on playing with where you're going, but on enhancing your room, such that drives you to the peak pleasure, peak enjoyment. Let me write to you in the email real quick. Whoops. And people, I'm going to read the chat. If you have any questions, guys. By the way, Kizzy, thank you so much for your contribution. And for your compliment as well. And also, Stud the Muffin. Thank you for your contribution. So I'm waiting for other questions. And Anthony, I'm very happy about that. And Fiji, Finesser, thank you so much. I'm glad that it's clear. My friend Paxton Beeve. I hope you're still following along. With the room, take a character of indulgence. I'm having trouble understanding maximum pleasure without indulgence. Yes, indulgence, pleasure. As I described, imagine yourself in the environment that is so gorgeous, and play with that boldly, like no whatever. There are no limitations. You're in metaphysical space. It's the most gorgeous place, the most indulging, the most divine, absolutely beautiful space that you can imagine, create. With elements from nature, be it from elements, I don't know, from some Baroque art pieces, anything that gives you the sense of insane aesthetic fulfillment, and the space that represents and caresses and enforces you so much, that drives you to that power of pleasure that just overflows you. Luis, thank you so much. Got a lot from that exercise. I'm going to keep practicing it. I'm gonna write you the recap. Nastya. Yes, great, Tom. I asked a question about making the movie up in the chat. Okay, I'll check. I'll check. 1 second though. I'm almost done. Thank you guys. Everybody go take a break, I guess, for the next couple of minutes and have a drink or something. What, who knows? But I guess you can bring your phone with you. It's for me. That it would be eventful to take a break. Oh, Fruity Cutie is here. Hello, Fruity Cutie. The rain sound. Yeah. Send. Okay. Okay. About the movie, let me find it. Movie making technique, I already feel better about that. Okay, that's movie. Picture my boss a boiled sausage. And I don't think I saw any other messages. We shape the culture here because they have an authority. Let me see. You know, you men can take something from these machines, no feelings, they don't get sad. They just keep on moving, and like the world has never even taken anything from them. It's funny. This has been very interesting. I'm glad. That's one of my favorite category of practices. That's super cool. I do this myself. It led to revolution in my personal life, actually. This type of practice. Because I always suffered from heaviness in relationships. Like I felt heavy in relationships. As if something is limiting me, even though nothing was limiting me. And I practiced that thing. Yes, how do I produce the movie? I'm having trouble grasping this. To take these two evil characters and picture it, where to start? So you need to produce the most absurd scenario. That will give you both, that will give you rush. You know? Yesterday, that stream that we watched, I was giving that example. For example, you're in triangulation. There's dysfunctional family, father, mother, sister, and sister's boyfriend. Sister is in dysfunctional relationship, and she keeps doing the most absurd things that split her parents, that completely destroy her life, and you are always somehow ending up needing to protect your sister or do some advancements for your sister. You're always ending up in this perpetual thing going on. So in that example, what I proposed was to create a movie in which your sister finds another, some boyfriend, some dysfunctional boyfriend, gets pregnant, and something happens to their living situation. So your parents freak out. Your mom demands that dad extract money from 401ks, from some pension fund, whatever. They give all this money to the sister. Your dad is upset at that idea, and your mom comes up with no less than asking you to either open another credit line or to start paying your sister to help her out because of her choices. So you bring it to the most boiling point, the most with that movie. You bring it to the most terrible situation in which you can actually throw a tantrum and be like, no, this is where my boundaries are pushed. And at the same time, it helps you to, you see, with the movie concept, there was a learning moment. I want to reinforce that. So learning. One part that keeps people in the systems, like riding this carousel with everyone. One part of people who are participating in the system, even though they are upset at them, is that they think that they're still benefiting from the system, that there is a way to heal the system, for example. I feel compassion. I want to save everyone. I want to explain to them that they're wrong. I want to make them live better. I want to help them live better. I want to contribute into them living better. So there is this delirium going on. How do we get out of that delirium? We first test the hypothesis. Hypothesis. We make an observation. Compilation of observations. And the peak of this learning is to actually create, extrapolate. And this is a creative point here when you are creating a scenario. When you create a scenario, you actually solidify your learning. You basically supersede this learning, and it solidifies your understanding of that. This is why we create the movie. The second thing, besides just reinforcing that the cycle will keep going, the system will not heal. When you understood that, you also crank up your emotions. That will help you. You know how in semiconductors, for example, you need energy to knock the electron up, the state, to free the electron. To free yourself, you need aggression. To free yourself, you need to create this extrapolated scenario so powerful and live through it that it kicks you out. That's the second objective here. On the one hand, extrapolation solidifies all of the above, knowing that there is a cycle. The system is doomed. And by this extrapolation and cranking up your emotions, extrapolate to explosion of emotions, you get to the next level. You get yourself free. You get yourself unbound, emotionally unbound by the system. You need this release of aggression. And this what helps is that you create the scenario so absurd you can't handle it. I create the confrontation in my mind, the explosion in this movie. Yes, you need to create the scenario that stems from everything that you've observed. That is so fucking absurd. It's unbearably absurd. And it's so upsetting at the same time. If it's like at some work environment somewhere, it can be that somebody, your for example, your boss and your coworker, I don't know, they can have an intercourse. And then they can laugh at you. And they could be like, ha ha ha, now you slave, do the job. And we're going to go on vacation together, something like that. And they give you, for example, Amazon, $50 Amazon gift card instead of a raise in your salary. They challenge your expertise in some way that is so blatantly unfair and not true. And they laugh at you, for example. They invite some other people. They set some environment for you in which, whatever your painful spots are, you basically need to emphasize them. Whatever would hurt you the most, whatever would make you cringe the most. So you need to bring it to that boiling point. And that's where you put yourself above that situation. You basically give up on that situation. That's another way to put it. You, on the one hand, you release your aggression through you can also morph them, as you said. You want to imagine them as a sausage. You can make them as a greasy sausage with mouth and eyes and some hairs sticking out from that sausage. Make them as gross as possible, grotesquely gross. Whatever it is. Turn them into food with hair. Like running, like blobs. There are three spots in reality: the accusing, the trash talk, and the intimidation. Okay, and so make them those gross characters that do all of these things, and then write your scenario. And then through that, you will give up on that, you will laugh at that, you will express aggression in the process, because you can morph them into whatever you can. And then you put yourself above it somewhere, parallel to that system. You're a filmmaker. Now all of that trash is happening there. And you're parallel to that. And through, like we just did with Lise, you learn a state. What this practice does to you, it will be very emotionally intense, so it will be imprinted really well. You need to make it emotionally intense. Imprint that state of release, that state of, and you will extract from this practice that state. That you can use in real life from that moment onward. I see like different state to build a wall in the back of my mind. To build that persona that's invincible to that. Like you go to the kindergarten, you're observing kids playing, like building some, I don't know, la 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 la. You are already coming to that system, giving up the idea that you can teach them quantum physics. You watch them enough doing la 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 la. That's the state. That's where liberation is found. You give up on that system. That's the goal, to give up on that system. Whether it will feel like a wall, I don't know. It would just be, I mean, you will just anyways observe them. You will not build a wall, perhaps. You perhaps will just witness that, like, oh, this is something from the distance. But it's not something that does this to you. You can stand beside it. You look just fine. What you could do, though, is help one old man that is on the knee that might never make it again. What? You know, sometimes a simple thing like a hello, or maybe after 5 years of leaving. Sit, maybe texting them and seeing if they're still alive, sure. Enrique, hello. How would one quickly respond when the yelling and intimidation comes on quickly? Catch me off guard. That you don't need to react. You need to remove what we achieve there. You won't feel the need to react. If a child throws their toy, you look at that kindergarten. Your child throws a toy. That's what happens to children. How are you going to react? Some random child in the kindergarten was playing, and then threw a toy. If that causes you, of course, there is an animalistic part to it, right? There's an animalistic part. When we hear someone yelling, when we hear something being very erratic and just like expressive, inhale it in the moment. But your baseline state is to distance yourself from that system. You're a filmmaker of that. And then watch out where you can diverge this energy to. There are other systems that you will be able to embrace. Build in your mind. So we do two things. We do two-pronged approach. One is distance from this system through the practice that we just talked about. The second pillar of this practice is alternative. Alternative. So what I mean by that is in the moments when energy fires up, the energy fires up here, right? Some animalistic thing fires up inside. So for example, you were not in this source. Maybe you're tired sometime, maybe whatever. You're not in this source to distance yourself in the moment. It still grows. I mean, yeah, even if the system doesn't bother you, even if when you understand through doing that movie practice, when you release all that, when you understand all that you're just only there just being bored, standing and watching and taking advantage of that. When the residual energy that still will be itching, because yes, it is unpleasant, yes, somebody's yelling, yes, someone is being weird. You have an idea of your new job, you have an idea of your new project. So alternative is we switch focus. This energy fired up here partially. You reduce the intensity, but still something fired up. You use it as the trigger to create something that you love, something that you would love. So use that shit to grow your peaches, like we say. But you need to be very clear what these peaches are for you. What is that? Just release aggression. Yeah, I'm reading your messages. Release aggression, amplify it, and release it in your visualization. Just once. Such that there are no ties. Like this practice with that movie, with that aggression. Now there is something like this going on. Just break this with aggression. Let the aggression break the ties. And with that residual energy that still animalistically will be fired up, formulate for yourself a phrase that defines your path. For example, you mentioned something about music, you mentioned something about all those passions. Feel yourself on stage performing music, or whatever format you imagine in your best scenario. Feel yourself like momentarily how you are playing the instrument in whatever scenarios there is. Whatever this love for music, how you envision, how you want it to manifest in the most comfortable, beautiful scenario. For a second, direct your attention and focus on that. Feel yourself in that scenario when this is happening, and you will use it as devotion. You will use that. Thank them later. Thank you for sparking me to work with my passion. You will be genuinely thankful for them doing this. Thank you for fertilizing my passion. Thank you for giving me resource for that. Thank you for making me move. Thank you for embracing my path. Thank you for making me embrace my authenticity. This is what will happen as well. So two-pronged approach. One is distance, not your choice anymore. It's my guitar, yes, and I'm glad they're pushing me out. This place is trash anyway. Amplify, trash. In your movie, it's trash. You can imagine, I don't know, stinky landfill, some sewage ground, some water purification plant, whatever. And all those characters. And free yourself in that movie. The goal in the end is to battle them, combat them all, kill all of the villains, or make them watch them, I don't know, decay somewhere. That's like animalistic revenge, because nature didn't put you in the position to tolerate for a long time the situation in which you need to repress your impulse of fight or flight. So replay that, satisfy that natural, primal urge in your fantasy. Beat everyone up in your fantasy. Destroy them, demolish, burn them, decay them, twist and tumble them. Whatever it takes. You will have a lot of fun, yes. And also connect your body if you want. You can stand in your room and do this with motion, like you're enacting that. Release it all. And that will create this, it will rupture this bond. And then whenever something triggers you still, thank them for that, because you're going to bring it here in your passion. You play guitar like you're playing guitar, where you're playing guitar, find that, build that alternative movie as well, and make it a feeling, like embodied. I do have punching bag in my gym. You can do punching bag if you can do it with eyes open. If you prefer to do visualization with the eyes closed, then may go without punching bag. But if you want to feel resistance and it's a more like that push back perhaps, then embrace that as well. I would prefer doing it with eyes closed with visualization going, perhaps. Because then you can connect with your body. Your body can be doing more than punching bag. Maybe all of that is sitting in your hips. Maybe you want to squat. Maybe you will want to stomp. Maybe you will want to thrust. Maybe you will want to fall with your entire body. Maybe you will want to push them with your shoulders, with your elbows. Maybe they feel like they're sitting on your back, so you would want to shrug them off. So with punching back, you will create a focal point that will be a little bit maybe limiting. So that's the consideration that I would have. But it's all up to you. So two-pronged approach. Distance through aggression, and then whenever you encounter their shit, fuel your passion with that. So build the alternative dominant of your passion, of where your love flows, where energy flows, and nurture. And then you will be, I'm telling you, you literally will be thanking them. You'll be, thank you for showing me. Thank you for giving to me. That's how it will feel in the end. But because you're bound to them a little bit emotionally, because you didn't allow this aggression, that's the only reason why you feel like it's somehow affecting you. Only in the negative way. The sad part is, I think men don't do this because we're told to let it go. We seem weak if we think about it. Like, don't let them get you, which is stupid. I love your solution. That's no, I mean, it's a learned behavior. It's a learned behavior with slaves. Slaves shall not rise up. Parents who want a slave child, they beat them. Then the child cannot rise up. Nature created this part for you to survive. This is a survival mechanism. When you're repressing that, it will keep poking through. Aggression is the way to protect your boundaries and to infringe your will on the world. It's a very powerful tool. Aggression repressed, think about it. Aggression repressed becomes psychosomatic diseases. That's how they treat the entire shop, like slaves. Yeah. So you feel it already. So there's so many ways you can play this scenario. But you need to do this reclamation. Reclamation of your boundaries, reclamation of your strength, of your power. And then you are focusing on something good, the opportunity will come. The ease of switching, you will feel through that, because when you're in this unsatisfied bond, when you still feel like they need to pay you debt, they need to pay for everything they've done, you're not going to let the system go. So you will not feel ease of just looking at other possibilities in life, feeling free. You will feel bound because there is some debt. You need to free that, to feel indifferent, to just to feel unbound, to be able to see other possibilities, and your life will give you possibility. Moreover, you will leave with strength. It will give you the resource to leave them on good terms. They will write your recommendation letter. They will not understand where did you generate all of your skill, where did you generate all of your strength to behave with total decency and like an adult in the kindergarten. Because when you're distant, you're not reactive. You're strategic. It's very good for you that you have aggression, that you feel it. Because what happens often is people bunch into groups and they're like, he, our boss is such an idiot. Do you know what he told me the other day? He, do you know what he told me the other day? Such a dick, he. And they never do anything with that. They don't even acknowledge that they have a lot of aggression that they want to express. So they cope, like what we started with. They end up coping through just venting it a little bit at a time. But claim more out of this situation. It was the same way with Graceland. She could get whoever she wanted. That's why she can take the commitment. And plus, the wreck that her mom was. I'm glad to take the commitment responsibility. Not only the responsibility good, maybe people can learn something from taking responsibility. Because if I ran off with a new person every time, I feel insecure about something, I would have more than one. Responsibility is easy to take when you understand the incentive and the goal. There must be a motivation complex, because otherwise more responsibility feels like a burden. If you don't acknowledge, if you can't connect the dots, like what you do this for. Yeah, then you're stuck in the system with it stealing their magic. I can see that. They vent to me every day. Stranger, that message got hidden. What is the email again? Gift through PayPal? I don't have good Google Pay. Oh, thanks a lot. My email is this. Whoops. info@rawformoflife.com. You get about as many viewers as I do, though to find the right target audience, I tend to rant, so they've shadow banned me. Forward looking. It varies. But I'll give you, do pick the brain a little bit. Just wish the powers would be put towards something more beautiful. What are you talking about? Actually, the real cat. I've been trying to piece things together and I can't build a story from that. I have to say, these concepts have never been proposed to me. I even saw a professional for a few months. And he told me to just endure. I'm so glad to have met you. Which professional was it? I'm very happy that we met, indeed, but which professional was that? Was it the psychotherapist? Psychologist? I'm surprised they don't start with aggression release. Because when you see auto-aggression, you see a lot of anxiety, and that's what pointed out to me. The fact that you kind of get distracted and you sabotage your sleep. That's the aggression put inward. So when you notice the patterns with aggression going inward instead of releasing it, the first thing is to claim aggression. I think it was so close to retirement, he didn't care much. My insurance was paying for it. That's what I like about the tantric approach so much. It seems very applied, method-based approaches tackling things. Yeah, me too. I myself was in therapy for a year and a half. And I left with some understanding of things. my therapist indeed actually was one of the first things was to open up the aggression, to legalize aggression, let's word it. And that's one of the actually common things to do. But I didn't leave empowered with tools in therapy. With Tantra, what was mind blowing was, yeah, you just, every practice you do, you acquire tools. And everything just was working. You just like it goes and it works. Intellectualism. Change your handle to intellectualism. Howard. I inquired about professional help, but all they want to do is write prescriptions. Now that nowadays too, one of the unfortunate things, because yeah, the antidepressant epidemic is really disheartening. Tranquilizers and stuff. So the sleeping things, why do I doom scroll about geopolitics instead of sleep? It's very expensive energetically. That is a good question. That is a very good question. And I mean, background anxiety can definitely lead to that. And also inability to, I mean, your brain, when you're doom scrolling, your brain wants rest. Your brain opts for simple stimulation, but it wants rest. Instead of resting it, you are agitating it in some comfortable form, and it's beyond autoaggression, beyond this little act of self-harm, because like of punishing yourself for not doing what your nature wants to be doing. Also to pacify yourself, perhaps. It pacifies yourself, it distracts you from what bothers you. It gives this confirmation of what you have to endure. It kind of creates a justification for what you have to endure as well. There are different twisted pathways in which we can do this self-sabotage to kind of match ourselves to what we're going through. I don't know why exactly it's happening for you, but there are tools to get out of that. Doom scrolling is how I found you. See? Is that the MK Ultra working? We all get trapped in the scrolling on the YouTube and the interwebs. You just need a strong and independent man in your life like me. And what will happen, the real cat? I'm just curious. I think it's useful to know more. I want to know more. I want to know everything about everything. Now that's there's nature limitation because there is 16 hours a day and about 800 calories of disposable energy. So you cannot know everything about everything. So that's where we need to be selective with what we do. It's where we build the priorities. That's why it's important to be to have some objective in life. That's why it's important to be on your path such that you have some clear idea where you locate your energy. Because, for example, there will be social interactions sometimes, right? You're thrown if you're not on your path, you go into social interactions, people ask you something. They ask you, they're like, oh, by the way, would you be willing to do something, something? Or would you want to do something, something? And if you don't have a clear path, you start getting anxiety that you're thrown in the situation of uncomfortable choice. And it's hard to say no because it's hard to stick for your boundaries. You start engaging with some commitments that don't align with your objectives. You start thinking, maybe I should do it, maybe I should not. So you don't own your life, basically, when you don't have that path lined up. Clarity, authority there. So it's important to have that alignment such that you can be selective with what you engage in. Because again, time resource is limited. Using this time as a review for possible questions I might have. Kiva. Always welcome with questions. The real cat, I still don't know what the benefit of your proposal would be. Then, no one will ever be able to know everything, sure. Thank you, Drew, for your compliment. My parents look like supermodels. You're absolutely right. I need to be selective. Thank you. Yeah, because if you want to, it's a gradual process when you build something in life. When you want to build something in life, as opposed to like life happens to you, you experience life. There are two different ways of living, and that's what we started with as well. Being a problem solver, being a leader, is where you are living life. When you're settling for something, in that like adapting yourself to environment, this is when life happens to you. When you live your life, you have to be selective. When you're building just anything, you have to be selective. For example, I have to be selective with experiences, with my lifestyle choices, with who and about what I'm talking about before the streams. So I have my routine before the streams that enables me to deliver the best energy. I know that I need to sleep, I need to be well rested to deliver on the streams. So I have this thing, my responsibility, it's my project, it's mine, it's my path. And I cater to it. I'm selective in order to be able to own this path and perform the best on this path. Because I know what outcomes I want. I know what's best for the system, for my creativity. That's our pyramid of creativity, getting laid, and basic needs. So I perform this work, this hygiene of selecting experiences. And it's easy to say no, it's easy to say yes to things. Thank you, madam. I will let you know if I have any questions. Same time, keep up. Cool. Can be a chef or mechanic, but if you do both, your chicken will be greasy. You don't want to stay on your intellectual selective path. And what's this with intellect? What do you have with intellect? Forward looking, I have this question to you. How did intellect hurt you so much? Or why is it such a centerpiece of your existence? You're using the word intellect in every single message almost. What about intellect is such a hot topic about it for you? What is that about? I know I'm 69 years old. I should have married the years ago, and I'm old and lonely. I'm trapped with a high IQ. The fact that you're trapped with high IQ, the fact that intellectualism bothers you, or that you notice intellectualism in things in which I don't know. I don't know why it's in general a focal point. I would dig into that. What's up with that intellectualism? Intellect. Like the fact that you're using now a lot of words and terminology. What is that about? It's your subliminal Marxist dogma, intellectualism, Eastern European, embracing the anti-family, romanticism. Why? Why are you living in the world of concepts like this? Why? What is that for? What's the purpose of that? Anti-family, anti-romanticism. What's romanticism? What's family? It's concepts that exist only in your imagination. Eastern European intellectualism, Marxist dogma. There's Marxist dogma is far in history in Eastern Europe. It's more Marxist in the West now. My subliminal. You don't even know where I'm from exactly and what the history of. Like I would assume that you are not particularly aware of recent Russian history and Soviet perturbations in detail. Not true, it's nature, it's million years of evolution that makes us want to take a single mate forever. Sure. How did, perhaps in recent couple of hundreds of years, it changed that people started wanting multiple partners, being able to embrace multiple partners and embrace novelty, right? That's recent leap of evolution. Fantastic. Okay, questions, comments, concerns, case studies. It's also funny, by the way, about romanticism, Howard Lucan. You're contradicting yourself. In apes, there's no romanticism. It's very funny to group them all together with Marxism, especially. I'm sorry. It's just so. Oh my god. Questions? How's everyone doing? Shuriken Zone, hello. Welcome back. No questions from me, madam. Well understood. It was loaded today with Luis. It was really fun. It was actually really cool to conduct the practice. Is romance real? Romance is just a courting ritual. Romance can be anything you want. It's just to create special event, I guess, out of.